What's going on, guys? Today we're talking about who is the best center in the NBA, Embiid or Jokic. Let's get into it. Before I break down Embiid and Jokic, I just want to give an honorable mention to Bam and Cat. Cat is probably the best shooting center in league history, one of the best scorers in the league, but clearly there's some other faults in his game that puts him behind these guys. And Bam definitely has the potential to be the best center one day, but right now he's still a little young and has to develop a little more. Clearly, Embiid and Jokic have two very different styles of play. Embiid is much more athletic than Jokic, bangs down low, is often bullying people in the post, and Jokic plays at a much slower pace, often taking the ball up, making plays for his teammates on offense, and is definitely less athletic than Embiid. When thinking about the best players in the post, Embiid definitely comes to mind, as well as Anthony Davis. Jokic is up there as well, but Embiid definitely gets the edge here, where he averages 1.11 points per post. Jokic averages 1.05. Embiid does work in the post much more often than Jokic, but when looking at the numbers, you could see that Jokic is actually more efficient than Embiid in the post. Obviously, the roles are a little different here. When Embiid gets the ball in the post, his main job is to score, whereas Jokic is looking to pass to a cutting teammate, to kick it out to someone on the three-point line, or make some awkward move in the post that somehow works because it's Jokic. Even though the efficiency numbers favor Jokic, I still want to give Embiid the edge here because when watching the game, he's so dominant in the post, there's few players that could hold their own against him. Now, if we move over to shooting, I think Jokic's efficiency shows up a little bit more here. His per 36 numbers over the past 3 seasons show that he has taken about 4 threes a game and hits them on average at 34%. I think it's important to note that people definitely respect Jokic on the three-point line. 2 years ago in the 2017-18 season, he was shooting it at almost 40%. He's dropped off a little bit, but when comparing him to Embiid, he's definitely the better three-point shooter. Over the last 3 seasons, Embiid has taken around 5 to 6 threes a game and hits them at about 32%, with his peak being this season at 33%. In his rookie year, he definitely was more consistent, where he shot around 36-37%, taking 6 threes a game, but we haven't really seen that from him since. So for shooting, I think I'll give the edge to Jokic. He's more efficient. People definitely respect him on the three-point line more. Yes, Embiid's pump fake gets a lot of defenders in the air, but he doesn't always hit his open threes. Not like Jokic is a 45% three-point shooter. I just think he's a little more efficient. Moving on to playmaking, it's clear that Jokic is the better playmaker. This is a huge part of his game and a huge reason why the Nuggets are so good. With the ability to have your center run the offense, players on the perimeter running off screens, Jamal Murray getting open for 3, and now Michael Porter Jr. being able to cut to the basket, Jokic could hit a 6'10 guy who's like a big wide receiver out there. Not only that, but his full court passes are amazing. He could pass in the pick and roll, and it just seems like everything is flowing well when Jokic is making passes. On the other side, Embiid's not really known as a playmaker. He's averaged about 2 assists for the past couple years, which isn't terrible for a center. Obviously, these are two very different players, but there's not much to say in comparison to Jokic. Jokic is one of the best passers in the league right now. Embiid could definitely make a pass out of the post, but when he gets the ball there, he's definitely trying to score 90% of the time. Jokic has the edge on Embiid for passing and shooting, but Embiid has the edge for his post game. Moving on to defense, it's going to be a little tougher to decide. When watching the games, it's clear that Embiid is much more athletic than Jokic. He can make chase down blocks. He's able to make more athletic plays that Jokic can't really make. Yes, Jokic has lost a little weight and that made him a little faster, but it still doesn't help him jump higher and block shots like Embiid can. People might think that Jokic is a really bad defender, but when looking at the numbers between Jokic and Embiid, we could see that it's really not too different. Players are shooting around 50% on both of these centers. When Jokic is defending players on the three-point line, they're shooting around 35%, which is league average, and Embiid holds them to about 33%. But on two-pointers, it seems that they're all around the same mark. They're shooting 55% on Jokic and 54% on Embiid. I think you could say that Embiid's better on the perimeter than Jokic, probably because he's a little quicker. He can move faster side to side, but that doesn't make him a great perimeter defender. He's nowhere near Giannis level defense on the perimeter. I think it's just important to note here that people probably think Jokic is a really bad defender, but at the worst, he's average to good. On the perimeter, yeah, he's not a good good defender, but most centers aren't. But overall, I have to give the edge to Embiid here. He is clearly a better defender, much more athletic, able to get chase down blocks. Yes, Jokic could hold his own in the post because his weight, but there's not much else there. So right now, Embiid has the edge in his post game and defense, but Jokic has the edge in shooting and playmaking. So now I think it's important to talk about the situations they're in and how they play with their teams. Clearly, Embiid has a worse situation around him. The spacing is really bad with him and Ben Simmons, although when he plays with Ben Simmons, the team does seem to do better. Their offense is just a little quirky. They definitely need more shooters, and Embiid doesn't really stretch the floor like you want him to. Looking at the Nuggets are one of the deepest teams in the league, with even more talent breaking out in Michael Porter Jr. and Bol. But Jokic's game could thrive on any team. He doesn't need the ball in his hands to be good, but when he does have the ball in his hands, good things happen. Yes, both players are inconsistent, and Embiid gets way more hate. I was trying to look up articles on both players on games in which they performed really poorly, and there's just so many articles hating on Embiid, and Jokic there's really not that many. I think the reason for this is because we see what Embiid can do, and when he isn't playing at that Shaq-like level, then people start hating on him. I think if the two players were to switch teams, the Sixers would have a much better record than they do now, and the Nuggets might drop off a little bit because they wouldn't have that pure playmaker that Jokic is running the show. Jokic could really help Simmons run the offense, and he could stretch the floor a little better than Embiid can. So overall, I think Jokic is the best center in the NBA. He's among Wilt and LeBron as the only three players to lead their teams for 3 years straight in points, rebounds, and assists, which is great company to be in, obviously. I think it has to be said that at Embiid's best, he is better than Jokic, but we don't get that all the time. In the bubble, yeah, he was doing good up until he got hurt, but it's not like he was playing that well every single game of the season. And when he's not playing well, there's not much he has to offer. Whereas when Jokic isn't playing well, at least he can still make passes for his teammates and run the offense even if he is not scoring. So with that being said, Jokic is the best center in the NBA. Embiid is a close second. He just needs to work on his consistency. Okay, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you've been here before or this is your first time, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. Let me know who you think the best center is in the NBA, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.